Good morning, Dr. Dupas and classmates. This morning, my topic is on fundamentals of educational planning. And from this topic, I will be talking about the following points: nature and scope of educational planning, concept of educational development, what educational planning is, types of educational plans, types of planning according to functions, and approaches. Let me start by saying that educational planning is an instrument for providing the needed coordination and direction of the different components of the educational system. Educational planning is the backbone of stronger, more resilient, and quality-focused education systems. The nature of educational planning involves a scientific process and orderly thinking. In other words, it is a process of applying scientific and rational procedure to the process of educational growth and development so that the educational system will be efficient and effective. Before we go on, I would like to lead you to watch this video so that we can all have a clear picture of the process of educational planning and to help us appreciate the tangible results in the educational system. Before we go on, I would like to lead you to watch this video so that we can all have a clear picture of the process of educational planning and to help us appreciate the tangible results in the educational system.
Malia has dreams, big dreams. To achieve them, she must have access to a quality education. This is her fundamental right. Beyond this classroom, a whole system unfolds from pre-primary to adult learning. Its goal? To help Malia and her peers build a bright future. An education system includes everything from the human resources to the policies and financing that supports it. But this system doesn't just appear like magic. Without planning, the whole education system is threatened, along with Malia's dreams. So what is educational planning? It starts with all of the relevant actors coming together to create a vision for education. They anticipate the future with the resources of today. Different tools are used throughout the planning process to highlight any problem areas and help with financing and resource allocation. At the end, the stakeholders have turned the vision into a plan of action for Malia and her peers. But let's start now, because Malia can't wait. The government and education officials must lead the way and believe in the plan. It must also stay responsive to the local context, such as the geography or demography of the local population. And what if a natural disaster hits or a conflict erupts? Planning for resilience allows the system to stay afloat. When an education system is carefully planned, the fate of millions of children is protected, and Malia can build the life of her dreams.
After watching this video, we can say that educational planning is like a roadmap. It focuses the attention of administrators, the Board of Education, or in our country, the Department of Education, teachers, students, community members, and other stakeholders, and help determine where the school should be going and how to get there. Right now, there are developments that are taking place in the field of education, and in that case, educational planning is an absolute requirement. And in the complexities of modern technology and society, there is really a need for careful planning in education. Problems such as increasing population, ecology, manpower needs, decreasing natural resources and development, all place demands for educational institutions for solutions. Educational managers or educational developers, education developers, are to talk about this problem, that becomes planning a necessity, and planning competencies becomes mandatory. The scope of educational planning covers curriculum planning, target staffing, and manpower within the educational system. Here, educational planners come together and establish a common ground to link education to the economy, culture, and society. For example, if organizing a new school is the agenda, an articulated vision of the future education sector should be in place. By anticipating what it might be, the level of uncertainty is reduced. It implies forecasting or prediction of important factors of education such as number, type of students, curriculum to be implemented, and facilities needed for them. Here, description of what is likely to happen after some years. Concept of educational development. Educational development is a way to initiate and respond to change. It is an enhancement to the roles we already play by taking risks with new practices and communicating our discoveries to colleagues. Educational development allows us to take a proactive responsibility for onboarding and mentoring new teachers, engaging in curriculum redesign or renewal, and driving forward new changes at the department and faculty levels. According to Griffin and Enos in 1970, concept of educational planning is determination of the goals or aims of the programs, an enumeration of all the resources which are available for their attainment, a consideration of alternative policies governing the ways in which the resources may be used, perhaps a check for consistency to make sure that the goals can be achieved with the resources available, and finally, periodic revisions to allow for unexpected events. Educational planning. Educational development in the course of educational planning helps identify pitfalls over a short term. And all at the same time, when you look at educational planning, it involves the making of decisions for future actions with a view of achieving predetermined objectives through optimum use of scarce resources. There are 5 W's of educational development: the who, when, where, what, and why. Let's start with who. Who does it? These are the teachers, faculty members, instructors, chairs, deans, associate deans, and in most institutions, specific roles in teaching and learning centers who have a passion for helping faculty become better teachers. These people are very important. When do they do it? They work throughout year and every day of the work week to provide support and services when required or called upon. What do they do? They engage with teaching faculty, administrators, and support staff to assist and support them in modifying, enhancing, or completely changing courses to more fully engage students in the learning process and hopefully affect change in knowledge, skills, and qualities. Where do they do it? They undertake their roles in offices, small group sessions, large group meetings, workshops, sessions, and institutional events. Why? What's the purpose? Why do they do it? They do it because they are passionate about quality teaching and ultimately to support the enhancement and development of self-regulated, self-directed, and engaged student learning. Before we define educational planning, let us establish first the concept of planning. What is really planning? Planning decides in advance as to what is to be done and how it is to be done, when it is to be done, and who is to do. Planning decides as to where to start and where to reach. Planning is an intellectual process. It includes thinking before acting, so it is essential for management. If you want to generate good results, you cannot be devoid of planning, because planning is a starting point where the projection of present trends are done into the future. What is educational planning then? Educational planning implies the taking of decisions for future action with a view of achieving predetermined objectives through the use of resources. The process of setting out in advance strategies, policies, procedures, programs, and standards through which an educational objective can be achieved. Educational planning is a preparation phase in the decision-making process. It helps to determine the optimal decision. What are the elements of educational planning based on our definition? First, predetermination of objectives. Second, optimum use of scarce resources. And third, decision-making. First, predetermination of objectives. What does this mean? These are the desired end results that are fixed by a certain authority or organization for bringing about the desired changes in the educational system. Second, optimum use of scarce resources. Here, to achieve objectives, we require limited resources, such as time, talent, and material resources. Time is the explosion of knowledge, and it has made it necessary to learn a great deal in a short time. Talent, because intensive efforts has to be made to discover and develop talents among students, especially at the secondary and university levels. Material resources, including money, is a third scarce resource in education, especially in developing countries. Many good plans are not realized because of scarcity of funds. Lastly, decision-making. Educational plans need to be prepared for each level at which decisions should be taken by an authority or an agency or an institution. As a prerequisite for realizing expected end results, planning process in the field of education adopted several approaches, stages, obeying some well-defined guidelines according to the needs, demands, availability of various resources, time span, etc. As education is a systematic process in a social setup for meeting the social demand, to bring the social justice, educational institutions need to perform its duties with careful planning. Educational planning is always related with the development. And development would lead us back to the target objectives. There are 9 types of educational plans, namely goal, objective, strategy, policy, procedure, method, rule, program, and budget. We will learn these types of educational plans in details. The first one is the goal. What is a goal? A goal is a desired state of affairs which an organization wants to realize. Goals are collective ends towards which organizations direct their energies and activities. Summit Integrated Learning Academy, for example, which is a preschool organization, can be to increase its enrollment as its goal. Objective. Objectives are planned targets of performance or the desired end results of an activity which an organization attempts to realize. Objectives are expressed in quantitative, measurable, concrete terms in a form of written statement of desired results to be achieved within a given time. For example, Summit Integrated Learning Academy has formulated its objective by increasing its enrollment by 10% after the first quarter. Objectives are usually set by top management of the organization and focus on broad and general issues. Different departments or units of the organization may have their own objectives. Strategy. The term strategy has been adopted from war and is being increasingly used in business or organization to reflect broad overall objectives and policies of a company or enterprise. Thus, we can say a strategy is a comprehensive plan for accomplishing organizational objectives. It includes 3 dimensions. First, determination of long-term objectives. Second, adoption of a particular course of action. And third, allocation of resources necessary to achieve the objectives. While formulating this strategy, an organization needs to consider the environment as well as economic, political, social, legal, and technological environment. Policy. Policies are general statements that guide managers in decision-making. Policies provide a basis for interpreting strategy, which is usually stated in general terms. Policies are guides to managerial actions and in the implementation of strategy. Policies help managers to tackle issues before they become problems, making it unnecessary to analyze the same situation every time it comes up and unify other plans, thus permitting managers to delegate authority and still maintain control over what their subordinates do. There are policies for all levels and departments in an organization. For example, policies on duties and responsibilities of the employees in the organization are drafted, crafted, and cascaded to the employees to prevent or avoid confusion and chaos in the organization. Procedure. Procedure is a set of step-by-step directions that explains how activities or tasks should be carried out to enforce a policy and to attain predetermined objectives. By defining the steps, that are taken and the order in which they are to be done, procedure provides a standardized way of responding to a repetitive problem. Rule. Rules are specific statements that tell an employee what he or she can and cannot do. For example, once the employee is hired, he or she will be told about the do's and don'ts to promote the safety and to make sure that everybody is treated in the same way as possible. Rules are the simplest type of plans, as there is no compromise or change unless a policy decision is taken. For example, rules about tardiness and absenteeism permit the principal or supervisor's decision rapidly and with a high degree of fairness to everyone in the organization. Program. Program are detailed statements about a project which outlines the objectives or policies, procedures, rules, tasks, human and physical resources required, and the budget to implement any course of action. Method. Method are formalized and standardized way of accomplishing repetitive and routine jobs. A method deals with a task comprising one step of a procedure and specifies how this step is to perform. For example, In our school, there is a method in delivering our reading and language program. We are adopting the reading mastery program, which we purchased from the United States of America. And for mathematics program, we are adopting the Singapore math. And before the implementation of these programs, it entails training for our teachers. Budget. Budget is a statement of expected results expressed in numerical terms. In other words, a budget is a plan which quantifies future facts and figures. With the help of a budget, an organization can easily compare actual figures with expected figures and takes corrective measures subsequently. Thus, a budget is also a control device from which deviations can be taken care of. In many organizations, budget is a fundamental planning instrument as it involves a lot of forecasting. There are types of planning according to functions, namely physical and economic planning, and allocative and innovative planning. Physical and economic planning is the planning of an area's physical structure, land use, communications, and utilities. Allocative and innovative planning is concerned with coordination or resolution of conflicts in order to ensure that the existing system is ticking efficiently through time in accordance with existing policies. There are three approaches to educational planning. First, the sociocultural approach that consists in determining educational needs and development in terms of current demands for education. The second is the manpower approach that consists in gearing educational efforts to fulfilling national manpower requirements. Third one is the investment efficiency approach, consists in determining the investment to be made in education according to the rate of return or benefit of effectiveness. Let me end my report with this acronym PLAN. Educational planning is a starting point in the decision-making process. People involved must lead the way and believe the plan. They attain the vision into a plan of action, and with the optimum use of the needed scarce resources in education. Thank you, and let me leave you with this quote: if we fail to plan, we are preparing to fail. Thank you.